Can fan fiction save someone from religious indoctrination? Our conversation this week touches on fanfiction's role in helping co-host Lacey Bond deprogram from Christianity. And the more I marinate on Lacey's story after listening to this again, the more I can't help but wonder if fanfiction has helped a lot of people deprogram from things. Look, fanfiction is a type of literature that's free of gatekeepers and censorship. It reflects the complicated nuances of human psychology and desire, unencumbered by capitalism or the dominant cultural paradigm. It's freely available to consume, easy to find, and easy to search for by tags, allowing those seeking certain experiences to connect with the works that most resonate with them. It's no wonder, then, that fanfiction has allowed so many to explore their gender and sexual identity and awaken to aspects of human psychology and understanding that the dominant culture, especially a culture that's been regulated by capitalism, colonialism, white supremacy, and the cis-hetero patriarchy, has been actively working to erase. And because of this, fanfiction has the potential to liberate so many people, which is important, especially young people, especially now in a time where books and media are being increasingly banned and regulated. Some people will go their whole lives performing a role that has been reinforced by the status quo, but that denies their authenticity because they haven't been exposed to the type of art that shows them another way is absolutely possible. Everyone needs to deprogram from something. And that's why I'm so impressed by Lacey, who was able to question her upbringing and choose a different path at such a young age. I hope her story will inspire you as well. Did you hear the one about the non-binary gold miner?
Tell me.
They made their fortune in their hills. So this is the Gentlebeard episode with me, Carly Heath, and Lacey Bond, the host of the Temple of Geek podcast. And this is the Our Flag Needs Fanfiction podcast. Okay, so give me some advice because next weekend is 29 Palms. My objective is to get Reese Darby's birth time. If there is an opportunity that comes up to ask him, I want to ask him, but a huge part of me is going to not. What would you recommend?
Oh man, how would you ask that?
No, I mean, in the previous episode, you might have heard I had rehearsed several different ways to do it, but the problem is not the words. The problem is my tendency is if I encounter him in some sort of way, my tendency is just going to be like, hey, Reese, really looking forward to your show. Or if the show is already passed, I'll just be like, great show. It was a privilege to be here. Thank you so much. Carry on your way. And not... But then I will be like, curse it, I should have asked his birth time. So the problem with me is myself.
Okay. Are you going to be sober?
I did bring a couple bottles of wine and a sparkling wine to share with friends.
Ooh, sparkling wine is great. Oh gosh. Yeah, I can absolutely, I too would generally default to just a pleasantry, right?
Just have a beverage before trying it.
That's why it's called liquid courage. What are you worried about? Are you worried about asking him and him being weirded out or not wanting to tell you?
Yeah, being weirded out by it, being like, you are a stalker and you are crazy. And also you build up a little bit too much, your chance of interacting with the people that you love. And if it is a bad interaction, then it's like, oh God, it lives in my head forever. And that's going to be terrible. I think on the percentages, I think it's 60%. I say, hey, Reese, looking forward to the show. By the way, do you know what time you were born?
I like the do you know what time you were born, because it gives more of a chance to think about it.
Yeah.
And then perhaps why do you ask?
Yeah. By the way, weird question. Do you know what time you were born?
Totally random weird question. You know what time you were born.
And then he might be intrigued, delighted by the question. He might, be like, "Oh, you're an astrologer. Oh, that's really fascinating. What do you know? What do you, so that would be really cool." Or he just like gives it, and is like, "That's cool." Or he's like, "I was born at night, born during today, whatever." If it's just a thing, but there is also like maybe the 20% chance that he will be weirded out, that he will have that scared expression that we have seen from him in some videos where he looks vaguely terrified, and I do not want to be the cause of that.
Oh God, I accidentally caused that face at ECCC because he didn't realize he was on my stage when I asked him for a picture.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, no one told you. You're at my event. I'm supposed to be on this stage with you."
Yeah. So we hate to be the cause of that, but next episode, I'll let you guys know how it goes. By the way, I think we should acknowledge that we're recording this episode right after Trump has been convicted of 34 felonies. So it's kind of a big day. So let's just have a little second to dance and scream about that.
Yeah.
So we did that.
We love to see it.
And this is a good chance to introduce you, Lacey. What's going on with you? You are getting ready right now.
I'm getting ready to go to Christian Rock Drag King's Dark Cathedral drag show. It's the second one they've produced. It's Dark Cathedral Baptism, and I told Christian that I wanted to get wet. And then Instagram deleted the comment.
This is really actually thematically relevant because we wanted to talk about you deprogramming from Christianity on this episode, and then you're going to something called Christian Rock Drag Show.
The drag king's name is Christian Rock.
Okay.
The drag show itself is Dark Cathedral.
And you said baptism. Yes. So on brand. This is what's happening here today. We're doing religion. This is the religion episode.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do the validation from strangers on the internet. I think you're going to like this a whole lot. So okay. we get your letters, and we encourage you to write us letters so that we feel good about ourselves and what we're doing. So this is from someone named Gutis, who wrote in saying, "Hi, Carly. I found out about the podcast when Khan put it on his Instagram." This was way back when. So I've been listening for a while. It's fantastic. Starry eye emoji. I swear it's my number 2 behind the cryptid factor. Ha ha ha. No, wow. Lacey, did you hear that? Number 2 behind the cryptid factor.
I did. I'm in the other room because I have to get dressed, but I did hear it.
I love that statement, and I'm gonna print that statement out and put it like on my ceiling because that is like the biggest compliment I've ever gotten in my life. I am number 2 behind the cryptid factor.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. It's like I subscribe to the Leslie Knope school of thought about letting your own accomplishments inspire you, because she's got, from Parks and Rec, she's got like a wall of photos of women that inspire her in her office, and someone's like, "There's a picture of you on here?" She's like, "I am mature enough to recognize that sometimes I inspire myself."
So they continue. "Yes, I share your Reese obsession. The guy is such a good actor. It's ridiculous. Nice work doing those for your consideration images." By the way, I don't know who did the for your consideration images. There is this Emmy for your consideration campaign for Reese and Taika and Khan. No idea who did that. Probably a crazy person, probably an insane person who has way too much time on her hands. They continue. "You should 1,000% try to interview him. Literally, the worst that could happen is you just gush about him to his face. We, the audience, will love it, and I'm sure he won't mind." Smiley face. Oh my gosh. You guys are inspiring me in really bad ways. You're making my brain think thoughts it should not be thinking. They continue. "Thought I should give you some feedback so you don't feel like you're shouting into the void. avoid. I drive a lot, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love how you have the stuff at the start of each episode. It makes me feel like I'm part of the fandom, hearing about what people have been up to, what's been happening on social media, etc. I found the recent Izzy-focused episodes super interesting because I didn't really understand why so many people were really devoted to the character. My first fic in progress is Frenchie and Izzy for the RBB. And then I just listened to the most recent episode about Ed and felt very represented between you and two. They're talking about the Ed Teach episode I did with Tanya Dixon. They continue. And I suppose I better answer the question, what is the most gay pirate thing that has happened to me lately? I have been designing Our Flag Means Death inspired cross-stitch bookmarks this week. I'm part of the Fiber Arts Brigade. Yes, we picked that name so we can be fab, F-A-B. So I'm donating kits to make your own bookmark for our Sage charity auction. Check out. And I'm going to drop a link in the show notes to a video that they did and sending you all the good vibes. Gutis, parentheses, on Discord, they are, and AO3, they are Cheesecake 3. Thank you, Gutis.
Gutis, do we have carte blanche to do a pod reading episode of one of your pieces on AO3? That sounded like an invitation. Let us know.
That's a really good thing. I should actually reply back to them being like, hey, you should do a podfic reading of your thing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I also had someone write in asking, hey, I heard there's a way to watch Wrecked online somewhere, and I directed them to links that are available on the internet to Google Drives that have Wrecked on them. So if you are a listener out there in the world and you don't know where you can go to get Wrecked, to see Wrecked with Reese Darby, DM me.
I don't know this lore.
You don't know this?
No,
okay. I will have to send you the Google Drive link. I'm going to send it to you right now. There's Google Drive links going around with all episodes of Wrecked on it. So everyone should be able to watch the show. By the way, if you notice that I am a little out of sorts, I am such a baby. I had blood drawn yesterday just for like a blood test, like 3 vials, nothing. I've been like a Victorian woman on a fainting couch since yesterday. And even today, I'm like, I am so weak. And I looked up, do blood draws make you tired? No, but I am a weak person. I would not survive the apocalypse.
Me neither. I would kill myself. I'm sorry. I'm alive. I hate the modern internet. Remember when we could just say whatever we wanted on the internet, Carly? Live journal days.
You can say whatever you want for your podcast.
I think on a podcast it's okay.
Yeah. Fandom news wrap up. Lacey, have you heard any fandom news?
I mean, I've seen the latest BTS drop from Samba. With,
that's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, Fang Roach, like.
You guys, if you haven't seen the latest Samba BTS drop, go to Samba's Instagram. And Samba shared behind the scenes Roach and Fang dancing. It's very loving, and Fang kisses Roach on the hand, and it's very romantic. So Froach is a thing. You guys should be writing this. Write all the Froach and send it in. Send it in to me because I want to hear it. If you want to narrate some Froach fanfic and send me an audio file, I would love to put that on the pod somewhere.
Sorry, I'm having a blush-based crisis over here. Go on.
It looks great. So what we're talking about today is Gentlebeard, Lacey, but we're also making this a lot about your deprogramming from Christianity through fan fiction, and fan fiction playing a big role in that. So let's start there. Tell us about your upbringing.
I was raised Christian. My parents were Christian. They converted in the 80s during the Jesus movement.
There was a Jesus movement in the 80s. I didn't know about this. Well, there's a lot like the Satanic Panic. I heard about that.
Yeah, so the Jesus movement was between the 70s and 90s, and it was in large part a response to hippie culture. And a lot of it was actually like hippie-ish folks who became Christian and also like kind of in some regards tried to capture a little bit more of the like social justice elements of Jesus ministry. There's a lot that goes into it. Keith Green is a really popular Christian music artist who actually wrote some pretty damn good music in the 80s. Anyway,
You went to all Christian school.
Yeah,
that was all you knew. And if you had met me, who was a raging atheist, who was the annoying child on the playground, being like, "What? What?"
I wouldn't have even met you. You wouldn't have been anywhere in any of my circles because all of my circles were the church. Christian pre-K, Christian kindergarten, elementary school, Christian church. Most activities were through the church. But if I had encountered you,
let's say you had you were invited to a friend's birthday party, and their atheist cousin, who was me, was also at the birthday party. And we were friends, we were hanging out. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, you believe in Sky Daddy too? And I started being like, what? How do you believe that? What would you have said to me?
I probably would have tried to convert you and would have been absolutely shooketh that you didn't believe, because from a young age, I was raised very evangelical, evangelism being trying to convert people aggressively in many cases. So yeah, I would probably have just been so fucking thrown and uncomfortable.
And you would have definitely thought I was going to hell and an evil person, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And then what I love about hearing, I'm super into deprogramming stories. I listen to a lot of cult podcasts, and I'm really into that whole process because I think everyone needs to deprogram from something. I needed to deprogram from my family and my toxic upbringing, and some people need to deprogram from their marriage. Some people need to deprogram from their job. Some people just need to deprogram from America and capitalism. Everyone, look at yourself, look at your life. What is it that you need to deprogram from? And so many people don't do it. I see so many people who are in marriages for 27 years, and they are never going to get out of that marriage because they have bought into the cult of monogamy. So, Lacey, tell us about your process for deprogramming, because you are a hero to go from that to what you are. You are a vibrant, full human now. You've escaped from Christianity. So, what was the process like?
It really didn't truly start in earnest until probably after college. And I went to University, which is one of the three most conservative colleges in this country. Three most conservative accredited colleges in this country. The other two being Liberty, which one of my siblings attended, and Bob Jones, which not even my family was crazy enough for that. So after college, so let's see. In high school, backing up, I first encountered fan fiction in the Lord of the Rings fandom when I was probably 13 or 14. And this was around the time that the movies had been coming out. And I first encountered an E-rated slash fic. It was Aragorn and Legolas. It was entitled The Arms of Comfort. You can find this. It's not bad, but it is definitely really tame and very flowery in its language. And I was just like, what the fuck? I was so confused because I never got X-Ed, really. We had it occasionally as a module in health class in high school, but there was no talk of anything before that. And I think I was a sophomore before we had that.
So you didn't even know gay relationships were a possibility?
No. I was like, how? What hole are they talking about? I was so confused and scandalized. I come to school the next day and chat with my close friend Kay, who was also in the fandom and less easily scandalized me. And I was like, you're never gonna believe what I've found. And they were like, she was like, yeah, that's a thing. I was like, oh my god. So I continued to read fanfic of various flavors, and there was definitely a lot of guilt and shame attached to it, but it was fascinating. No, guilt and shame is gonna be a huge part of this story. So yeah, I think at one point there was some slash fic that I was like, I really like one of these characters, but I would prefer this to be het. And so I was editing one, and it was under my bed. And my mom was fucking Snoop Dogg. No, that's way too cool to Snoop Dogg. She just would fucking Snoop. like sat under my bed and was like so concerned that I was like reading romance type material. It didn't facilitate any kind of like helpful conversation because it was very much steeped in like shame and like, oh my God, something's wrong. Like I'm doing something wrong because I was a very good child, like from the entirety of my upbringing.
I can hear the conservatives like listening to this podcast and being like, this is evidence of why the youth are being corrupted by fan fiction. And I'm here as a young adult author. Yes, we're here to corrupt your children.
Some say corruption, I say liberation.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I was being facetious, but my truth is, fan fiction is going to free the children,
and the truth of AO3 shall set them free,
and help the next generation rise up and destroy America
through the power of fan fiction.
Okay, wait, I got off track. Okay, continue. So
this kind of thing continued through high school. And
I love though that your mom tried to attack you for reading fan fiction, but you just kept on reading it.
I mean, I felt bad about it because like masturbation was never like, or like pleasure overall is not like part of it. So obviously, if you're reading romance, that's what you're doing. I mean, it is for most people. I mean, for the allos out there, I don't know. Some people, if they're reading erotica, don't, but I don't know. That's none of my business. I can only speak for myself. There's a reason there's a huge market for erotica, published and online. But yeah, so continuing through high school and college, and it was like this attack was very much more like out of concern for my soul or whatever. There's plenty of other attacks that were just straight up attacks. But yeah, in college, I went to Biola. We had a dress code where women weren't allowed to wear like spaghetti straps. In case you're not aware, Biola is in Orange County. It's hot there. It's actually technically in South LA County, but it's basically Orange County. Like, it's so Christian. Orange County, if you're not familiar, is very Christian, very conservative, very more right-leaning and traditionalist. But that's where I went to college. It's too hot to not let women wear spaghetti straps. They weren't allowed to wear certain types of tops in the gym. Like, meanwhile, the men's cross country team is running their drills across the entirety of campus in nothing but tiny shorts. And I'm like,
so no shirt, no shirt and tiny shorts.
Yeah, like the number of sermons and Bible studies and youth groups that I had, because I didn't just go to church. It was also youth group once a week at least. And I was in band. I did drama ministry. My life was in a church. And I did, in part of my homeschool time, I homeschooled 5th grade and 11th grade. And during 11th grade, I went to community college, but it's still a pretty conservative area. So it didn't really get me that far out of it. But I was just like, so we have all these sermons dedicated to male lust and the responsibility of us as their sisters in Christ to help them not stumble, and nothing. I attended one chapel service ever on any kind of female sexuality. And it was like, fine. And it did actually connect me with someone who had been facilitating it, who was a sex and sexuality educator. And I used her as a primary source in my senior thesis project. But like, it just like so much focus on male lust. Like the church is obsessed with sex. I was in a documentary a few years after graduating college that focused on this, called Give Me Sex, Jesus. The original working title was, Dear Jesus, please don't let me die before I've had sex. Because in modern evangelical culture, you are not supposed to have sex with anyone until you get married. And men get a pass for this. Like it is drilled into all of us. And I graduated college in 2011. I was born in 1990. So this is 10 years ago I graduated plus, but like this is recent and this has been a dominant. So like it's not like this now. This message is drilled into you that like it's expected that men are gonna fuck up, and they get a pass. So I was just like, I'm like in college. I'm just like, this is like, they're causing me to stumble, like in their tiny little cross country shorts. Like they're sweating, running all over campus. There's a pack of like a dozen of them. Okay.
How dare they?
How dare they have bodies, just like the body shaming, not even in terms of like size shaming or whatever, just like the fact that you have one and like the expectation that the way you dress and present yourself is,
and also like, just like what your body does, that it's something to be ashamed of.
There you get turned on. Women don't get turned on though.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a sex drive. I didn't know if you knew this.
Well, this is funny because I am like ace arrow, but I do acknowledge, and I'm very sex positive, and I'm very much like, obviously I read a lot of fanfic that has a lot of smut in it. And I read romance novels. So anyway, I'm pro-sex, even though I'm asexual. So anyway, that's a little bit of my context, but continue.
So for my senior project at this college, our assignment was to express a countercultural point of view. Most people expressed a Christian point of view contrasted against a secular dominant culture. What I did was I expressed a view that was counter to the dominant Christian culture, which was essentially my thesis was like the silence around female sexuality in the church is harmful. Like it's a problem. It's not biblical. And I included like, you know, a bunch of examples of acceptance of differing sexual norms in the Bible, because it's a document that covers ancient Near East oral tradition. Song of Solomon is one example that is translated into English as trash, but it's poetic language that's like pretty explicit in its original. I think it would have been Hebrew. I've forgotten a lot of things I learned in Christian school.
This is good.
I feel very good about it.
I think that's a symptom of PTSD, isn't it?
Well, or that I've just like paved over those neural pathways. So basically, like I argued that it was like harmful and unbiblical and not good for like anyone's mental health or actual practice, because like people end up getting married so they can have sex, which is like not useful. And in the course of that, I utilized the primary research that person who had run the like kind of female sexuality, what's it called? Chapel. It's a weird combination of words, isn't it?
Female sexuality chapel sounds really fun, actually. But it's
where I'm going tonight. Shout out Christian Rock Drag King.
By the way, Lacey's outfit and makeup. Lacey has been doing her makeup and getting dressed during this whole thing, and it's very beautiful makeup. So female sexuality chapel is not as fun as it sounds.
No, it's just like telling us about how to cultivate the garden of our sexuality, which again sounds more fun than what it probably was. But I connected with this educator, and she like, I forget what like how she got this, but because she like, I don't know, went to youth groups or churches or something, she had a box of like all these questions that like young women and girls like in the church like asked about sex and sexuality, and some of them were just so remedial. It was like sad, like stuff about like, you know, does using a tampon take my virginity? Because virginity as a construct, that's a whole, I could TED talk about that for a while.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Obsessed with it. And so I utilized that and like compiled all of it, and I got an A. And then because like there's not like a healthy way to learn about sex for a lot of Christian women, and for a lot of Christian men. Like Christianity is just really fucking weird about sex, particularly. And I'm coming from America, like particularly American evangelicalism, which is not the only form of Christianity. Like there are plenty of other forms. There are more liberal forms, more permissive forms, but I'm talking about like conservative Christian evangelicalism, which is not a good place to learn about sexuality in any kind of healthy way, because it just sets you up for failure, because like the whole purity culture is just so fucking messed up. Okay, so like as an example, there are a number of like object lessons or comparisons that get made to deter young people from having sex, which after its only education is garbage. But some of those being specifically like one that was used in youth group, which I subsequently had a youth pastor apologize to me for after I posted about it on Facebook a decade later, was like, you know, like kind of like the slippery slope fallacy, which is like fooling around with your boyfriend or your girlfriend and getting like closer and closer to like having sex. And they had like a pitcher of water on like a table, and they're like pushing it and then like push it off the edge, and it broke and the water went everywhere. And it's like, that's your sexuality, that's who you are. Or like, it's like when you have sex with a partner, it's like you become bonded to them and glued two pieces of construction paper together. And then when you break up and rip them apart,
this is not healthy. This is not a healthy way to raise children. This is not going to set them up for having healthy relationships with people, or having healthy boundaries with people, or acknowledging their needs. I mean, I'm sure you don't need me to say this, but this is horrifying.
And like, I forget the name of the woman. I think it was Elizabeth Smart, who had been kidnapped and like held as a hostage for years in like the guy's basement. And then when she finally got out, people were like, well, why didn't you like leave? Like, you could have, technically she could have left before. And she's like, I'd had sex with him. He had sexually assaulted her. He'd been raping her. And she had been raised with the chewed up cookie or the chewed up chewing gum analogy, because there are so many variants of this in the church that are just like so dehumanizing.
Yeah, like
yeah, like having sex like ruins your worth.
And so how long did it take you to fully go from starting to question things to I'm now free of this?
About a decade. Yeah, because like sexuality was definitely a big part of it for me, just because I was like, this is like kind of weird that we're like this. Like so weird and obsessed. And then like learning more about purity culture and like having a name for it. Patheos.org or .com, I forget, had like a really good set of writers between 2011 and 2015 that were like super helpful and informative for me to put words to things that like I was like, oh, like this is interesting. This is how things shake out and line up, and okay. And then like another interestingly part of the deconstruction was actually The Boys on Amazon Prime. There is an episode where they go to essentially what's like a Christian tent revival, and Starlight is like invited because she like grew up super Christian and like, you know, good girl, right? And she gets invited into like the tent of like all the teenagers, and like one of them asks her like, are you still a virgin? And she's like, oh, she's not, and she has to lie. Yeah. She's got the cognitive dissonance going. I was like, oh, these children are so like in this, and I have to like she gets like the look from the youth pastor anyway, and like that's all tied up in hell fear, which is a huge part of religious trauma for a lot of people. The idea that if you go to hell, or if you don't believe, you won't just not go to heaven, you will go to an eternal conscious torment, hell, which
I've heard from so many like podcasts that people, even after they completely deconstruct from Christianity and whatever, they still have this like almost instinctual fear of hell, like that they can't shake. Do you have that?
Not anymore. What really helped was, if you're not familiar with this concept, I'm just going to refer you to the podcast Almost Heretical, which is run by two former pastors, and they are well educated. One of the issues that I would run into after graduating from a Christian college with a minor in biblical studies was that I would go to churches. I'd be like, they don't understand the context of what they're preaching. Like, I know better than they do because I have this education that the pastor clearly doesn't. And I'm like, you're drawing equivalencies that can't exist between first century Judea and America. And these aren't even like nationalistic churches. They're just like regular ass churches. So like when I say that to like establish that like I went to Biola extremely devout. I came out fairly devout, but then started deconstructing over the next decade. And what helped me was with the hell fear specifically, was the 3-part series called Scared to Death on the Almost Heretical podcast, where they really closely examine like the modern, particularly evangelical idea of hell and go through why that is not really an idea that is present in the text. It wasn't really an idea that would have been extant in the minds of first century readers. If you first or second or third, like that just wasn't really an idea. And they've also got several, like they've got really great episodes on like ancient pre-temple, like established Judaism thought on like cosmology, hell, gods, polytheism. And so like they have like a very well educated, including from like Christian theological seminarian type thought, like about why this shit's wrong. So that was a good one. So at this point, the hell fear is mostly gone.
As you put on this collar right now that has does it have a cross on it? It looks like it has a little cross.
It's a dagger, but it's close enough.
Let's talk about Gentlebeard, because I feel like Gentlebeard is the exact opposite of everything that traumatizing that we're talking about. What draws you to Gentlebeard as a relationship worth reading fic about?
For me, I think healing aspect for Steve is definitely part of it, because he grew up with a certain set of expectations that were extremely limiting and that made it impossible for him to have a healthy relationship with his partner, who, you know, he's not attracted to women. Be with one, probably. But like that's a concept that is pretty universal, especially for, I think, for people with religious trauma. And so like a lot of the pieces that I have enjoyed in the Gentlebeard oeuvre are ones of discovery where it's a safe
a safe and almost transcendent sometimes experience for Steed because he didn't have any opportunity to like experience something like that. I have a virginity kink for some reason.
Let's hear about that. What do you love about the losing virginity trope?
Like having it be be a positive thing, because for me it wasn't, because it was so loaded down with it being a sin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so like reading stuff where that's not what's going on and there isn't any shame, because that's present in like tons of media. Someone was kind of complaining about it on a post about Bridgerton, which I don't really engage in Bridgerton discourse. I'm just here to watch spoilers. Is it going to be a problem if I spoil this for you?
No, go ahead and spoil it.
I'm just here to watch Penelope get finger fucked in the back of a carriage. Like, okay, like I'm here for the smut in this dumbass Regency-based show. Okay, like it's not that serious, you guys. It's a romance, and romance series can be written well, and this one seems to be. I don't read it because I've been told it's not spicy enough for me. I'm not going to waste my time when there's free spice on the internet. But someone was like, and I get it. They weren't necessarily kink shaming. They were like, man, like, does anybody else bothered by the like experienced male, like teaching the inexperienced girl? I'm like, yeah, kind of, but like, let us have our virginity kink in peace. It's there for a reason.
Do you see yourself more in Ed or Steed? I have a feeling, but I want to hear confirmation.
Definitely Steed, because of the parallels of high control and inability to fully express yourself. And
And is Ed like the type of romantic partner that you are personally interested in, or are you?
I feel like
because weirdly, like I see myself in Steed, but I also I like to see Steed happy. So almost I'm like I'm a Steed who would ideally maybe want another Steed, which is weird.
Gotcha. I honestly hadn't really thought about it in those terms. Like, I like fanfic Blackbeard because they only bang once in the show, and it's a fade to black, which was disappointing to me personally. So we have a much deeper well of characterization in fanfic. So I like fic Blackbeard in a lot of ways. In terms of like, if you're into the virginity kink, having the partner be like fine with teaching you and like helping you explore new things, and like being totally down with whatever your limitations are, and working with you, and it is like, a big thing. Who knows what it was like? They didn't direct that for us, so we had to imagine it.
Who knows? David Jenkins does so many takes and so many different versions of things. We might eventually get the alternate version that shows, I don't know, like hands gripping a bedpost, or feet doing something. We might get something that like alludes to the choreography of the sex scene. It could
yes, off screen. I just wish more shows were like Bridgerton. I want to shout out everyone involved in the closed set scenes of Bridgerton. You all have created a phenomenal product.
Shout out to intimacy coordinators.
If you worked on Bridgerton, I want to talk to you. I think we've talked about on this podcast that being the career I am looking to transition into.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Lacey is an aspiring intimacy coordinator, and intimacy coordinators deserve all the love and respect because you keep sets. You keep sets safe. That's what I meant to say. And where would you like to see the Ed and Steed relationship go in season 3?
I really like the idea of, I think they would get bored trying to run their inn, and there would have to be more shenanigans at sea. It would be really cool to see them like actually navigate stuff as a couple, because like there was so much like couple drama in season 2 where it's just like, where you want to bang their stupid heads together and be like, communicate, you dinguses. What's wrong with you, dramatic ass? I'd love to have. I want them.
You'd love to see them like working together to solve problems as a couple.
I would love to see them co-captaining. Like that was such a huge concept in season 1, and honestly, it's such a queer concept where co-captaincy is just so fucking queer. Like, we're defining a relationship structure for ourselves just kind of based on like, we could just do this thing. We just do this thing together and come up with a name for it.
Perfect. Love that.
Yeah, and so like I would love to see more of them like being co-captains, you know. I would like more ocean adventures because I just don't think the Inn by the Sea will last.
Yeah.
I think they'll have their honeymoon.
Working together to solve like a big crisis, like, you know, one of their crew members gets kidnapped and they have to go find them and they have to work together. They both have different ideas on how they should approach it. They have to work it out. That's all good couple stuff that could be really fun and satisfying.
Yeah, because because working with your partner can be really challenging. Like any kind of problem solving if you have different styles. And like in season 1, we saw them kind of explore and realize like, oh, we like work really well together naturally. But you know, that it doesn't cover like an extremely long period of time. And so one of the things that I love that I've seen in relationships that I have is like when you initially like do like butt heads or realize that like we're like, oh, we have 2 totally different ways of solving this thing, getting to the point from there to the point of like acknowledging like, I want to go about this way, but like, I think this is more of a you problem. Like you're going to deal with this better than me. Or like, I need your flavor of management on this thing. That would be really fun to see like in terms of like a character and relationship development over the course of a 3rd season. Sorry, I got to move my phone because it's dying and I have to find a corset.
No problem.
Are you really going to a drag show if you're not hunting for a corset like an hour before the show?
To describe Lacey's outfit, she has like kind of a red underdress and then a black halter top.
Don't forget, it's split up to the thigh.
Yeah, so the red underdress is split up to the thigh, thigh-high stockings that are kind of torn and ripped, and then a black halter top, and then like another black skirt over the black overdress. The blush is high on the cheekbones, very pink, very magenta, very reddish magenta eyeshadow with a nice winged eyeliner, it looks like, and black eyebrows, very good, a little white highlight in the between your nose and your eye.
Corner.
Yeah, in the
corner of the eye.
And green hair up into buns. And now Lacey has put on a hooded corset that is of a brownish gold material. And Lacey's now buttoning it up, sort of has a bustier quality, lifting up the boobies. And the hood is kind of dark on the inside and gold on the outside. Lovely. Lovely.
That's pointy. The entire outfit actually is from Opal Moon, which is a Ren Fair vendor.
Oh, okay. From Opal Moon, Ren Fair vendor. I will put a link to them in the show notes, maybe, if they have a link. I don't know.
They do.
Okay,
This is from their spring collection. I wore it to Disneyland. I got this whole outfit because I wanted to do Marin cosplay bound with my partner who was going as Cal Kestis from the Jedi Fallen Order video games. So it worked really well for the Dark Cathedral I'm about to go to.
Yay. Okay, so what Gentlebeard Rex do you have? Pitch them to us.
The Trekker AU is a 5-part series where Steed is running away from his problems. He's in his car. He gets into an accident. He crashes and then is rescued. We love a rescue. He's rescued by Ed, who is, as the title suggests, a Trekker, and they like hit it off really well and end up sleeping together that night because comfort, we love a comfort trope. And it continues for 5 parts. The spice is really nice. The author has like very thoughtfully like written Steed as autistic and written in some like overstimulation and like sensory tropes, not overstimulation as like a kink, but just like as like a thing, sensorily like sensory processing disorder type stuff that like I feel like they did really well and worked into the story quite well. And it's got a great arc of like, it ends up involving Mary. Calico Jack is there for a little bit, that fucking guy. And has a great ending with vindication for Steed with his upbringing and his parentage. So that's the Trekker AU. There is another one that's just super smutty from the get-go called Blue as Cut Sapphires and Sparkling Like...
I think it's sparkling like gold.
Like gold.
Yeah.
Gold. Yeah. Blue as Cut Sapphires is like college professor AU, where I think they're both teaching at the same school or something along those lines.
And Ed is like a bad boy artist. And Steed is like an art history professor and very tweed jacket sort of vibe.
Yes.
and they go to a conference together.
They
And
go to a conference together. They room. Then oh my god, they didn't room together. I don't think, but they did end up in each other's rooms.
yeah, that's a really great trope, which is there are two beds, but they choose to use one.
Yes.
Oh, there was a great
God.
list of like reversed fanfic tropes. I need to pull it up for a future episode, but one of the tropes was too many beds. Quote.
Too many.
Too many beds.
Don't Tell Mama is a really fun
Yeah, pitch us that one.
words. So Don't Tell Mama is another modern AU, which I think is done now. I just haven't caught up on it since they finished it, where Blackbeard owns a drag bar, and it's 150 chapters or something. It's super long. I love it. I've got so many Gentlebeard fics that I've read that they kind of run together in my head. But like Don't Tell Mama is a song from Cabaret. And yeah, that's a fun one. Very long. I mean, the top favorite that is like everybody should know is Close Quarters, where they end up surprise fucking in like a broom closet.
Yeah, how many episodes has that landed in our fic rec list?
It's just the best one. Okay, like I don't make the rules. It's just scientific fact. I need to check how long it's going to take me to get to this place, by the way. Hold on.
Okay. While you're doing that, I will pitch a few. So I'm trying, because, I've been going on the island. It's been my big thing that I've been wrecking with the island by Tried and True. Wreck that forever. Also, All You Left to Make Was a Pearl is one that I keep on wrecking forever. But I decided to pull up some others from way back when. 10 Beats of Memory by Lost Magician is a amnesia fic. It takes place post season 1. Steed wakes up in St. Nicholas with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. The villagers accept him as one of their own, offering him a house and a job to earn his stay. He leads a normal, uneventful life until one day a man called Ed starts visiting him. And it's very extremely sweet, where Ed sort of like gently is just like there for him. And then Steed slowly remembers. And it's relatively short, 6,900 words. And it's one of those, I do like to wreck the ones that are not big, famous. Everyone knows about these fics. This on AO3, it only has 1,100 hits. And yeah, it only had like 279 kudos. So it's not like one of those super fics that everyone knows about, but I thought it was really sweetly written and really nice. Another one is What Wound Did Ever Heal But by Degrees by Poading. This is relatively short. It's 15,000 words. And it's very poetic and literary fiction flavor to it. These little vignettes, these individual chapters that deal with kissing. And it's in the summary, it says, or 5 times Ed kisses Steed and 1 time Steed kisses Ed. And
I love 5 and 1.
Yeah. It takes place after season 1. And then I asked the OFMD Fic Club for some canon recs, because I'm a big canon fan.
Canon compliance.
Yes. So they recommended, I loaded these on my Kindle, but haven't read them yet. The Waters Around You by Emio. And in which Ed and Steed enter their innkeeper's era, get stuck into renovating their new home, and lay a few ghosts to rest. Unapologetic fluff with a moderate dose of smut.
Nice.
This other one is Setting Pace by Foxtails. And the summary is, sometimes slow is hours spent questioning why Ed even wanted to take it slow in the first place. Like he hasn't already been waiting a lifetime for a love story like this.
Nice.
The Kissing Game by Veeagainst, set during the period between season 2, episode 5 and season 2, episode 6. So The Curse of the Seafaring Life and Calypso's Birthday. Venturing a little bit into canon events of season 2, episode 6. Ed wants to take things slow, but he also really likes kissing Steed. He invents a game to make both of these things happen.
Ooh.
And there's a fic called season 3, episode 4, Chafing at the Bit, which is by sheildmaidenofmithrillhall. Captain Frenchie and Admiral Zhang have a plan to sabotage Ricky, but they need someone to watch the crew while they're gone. Ed and Steed agree to crew sit, but when they run out of lube in the middle of the ocean, Steed realizes it's time to consider a new profession, whaling. I'm guessing finding the whale blubber. No whales were harmed in the making of this spec script. So it's screenplay format. Another one is Writing Double by darcylindbergh, and it's very horse centric. Ed gets hurt. Sorry? Ed gets hurt on the island, and they need to make it back to the cabin. And so Steed steals a horse for Ed to get on, and Ed is very nervous about riding the horse. And one of the tags, which I really like, is Horse Girl Steed Bonnet.
I love that.
And this is also a good time to recommend Murders at the Inn by ahopelessnecromantic. And this is also Innkeeper's era. But Mary and Doug receive an invitation to this inn by someone. Ed and Steed definitely didn't invite them. They show up, and Ed and Steed are terrible innkeepers. And when they realize it's Ed and Steed, they're shocked, but they decide to stay. And there's a scene where Mary walks in on Ed and Steed having sex and is like, "Oh wow, this is different. My husband is really into this."
Different.
Yeah, but it's nice because there's also a murder mystery. This is extremely funny, and I can't wait to read more. It's not finished yet, but I'm going to actually give it another read through of the chapters so far. So far, it has about 7 chapters. It's really good.
You've given me some new ones to read, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. Your outfit now is finished. You got your purse on, so you're heading out. You have it looks like a cape that has a zipper on it. So you got do you have 2 hoods now?
No, the cape, I just put the hood from the same thing under the cape, and I've got these little bat
hairdoies
because I still have my undercut growing out underneath my hair.
Lovely. And so this is a good time to sign off, since you are heading out the door, I see. But before you sign off, what are you up to? What are you working on? Where can people find you?
I'm still doing Temple of Geek podcast. The Geek Out segment is what we're calling it. I'm working on editing an episode right now with the creators and one of the voice actors from Blood of Zeus, which is a Netflix animated series. So that should be pretty fun. And I'm at the Corona Ren Fair the next few weekends. So not really working on much new on that front, but that's where I'm hanging out.
And this is the Our Flag Means Fanfiction podcast. And if you are into memes, you can find us on Instagram at Our Flag Means Fanfiction, all one word. Bye.
Bye.